Welcome to the Daily Shift. You heard that right. The Daily Shift. The show where we block out the noise and speak truth, train your mind, and help you become the absolute best version of yourself. Leo and Andrew are on their way. You're in the right place. And while you're here, take a breath. We're about to dive in. The show starts in 30 seconds. You ready? Take a deep breath in and breathe it out. Prepare for your shift.
Many of you guys have so much potential and so much ahead of you, but you've been playing small in different capacities in your life. And today's live is going to give you 8 truths for you to hold on to, reflect, and make sure that after today, you are playing as big as you can possibly play.
So I think it's a powerful thing because I played for the topic of today's show. I played small for a lot of years, and I remember getting sued, getting hit in business a few times and thinking, gosh, like, is this really for me? It's just easier to just be safe. It's just easier to let me get my 10 little rental properties here and I'll be okay. I can survive. But to move out of survival mode to thriving is an uncomfortable shift that requires a major amount of tenacity and faith. And that's what we want to walk you through today.
100%. So good to see you, beautiful people. I hope that you're doing well. Today we have all the comments in front of us, so we'll be reading what you guys have to say. If you have questions, pull them up. Otherwise, me and Andrew are just going to go truth by truth and really lay it all down from our experience, also from what our mentors have told us, and just dive fully in. So, number 1 is you are not confused. You are scared of your own potential. For so many years, I was very lost, and I thought this whole time that I was confused. I thought this whole time that I didn't know what direction I wanted to go. But this whole time, for the past 5 years, really 6 years, I've had a vision for myself. I've had an idea for where I wanted to be, but really I was just scared of, hey, what if I actually get there? What if I get to a point where I become successful? Will I have anything else to do? Or what if I make a whole lot more money, then I have to pay more taxes? Or what if I lose the money? What if I? And I was scared for so many years, and that's why I never took the first step.
Is fear of success or fear of failure more real?
I believe that they're both incredibly real, but the fear of success is something that's not talked about enough because we kind of mix the two together. But I think it's important to look at them both and say, okay, fear of failure is the fear of putting yourself out there. The fear of being seen failing is really what it is. I'm not going to post because I'm comfortable here, but if I post, then someone could see that my metrics are low and they could look at it and call me a failure.
Yeah.
Right. But then also, what if I am seen by millions of people and then I'm found out?
Yeah.
Right. So it's a bitter mix of the two.
I think it's a powerful thing when when we talk about time freedom, money freedom, having a mental freedom is powerful.
Absolutely.
You can just be authentic and say, hey, like, I know I was meant for more. I know it's scary. I know that I may fail and I may have successes. I will fail and I will have successes. And when you can just own that and be okay with that, a new level of freedom unlocks that is very powerful.
So how in this time can we make sure that we can uncover that fear and start really taking action, really becoming the person who can live out the potential, right? For you had been doing real estate for 8 years at the time, but you never allowed yourself to go full on. You always played a little bit small.
Yeah.
What broke you out of that? What allowed you to do that? What teachings gave you that ability?
Well, it's the timeline was when our brotherhood was born, when we started connecting, because I had a certain level of fear I overcame when I went from broke country boy to doing hundreds of deals. But I was still scared of my potential. I felt confused. I felt overwhelmed. I wasn't enjoying the business or life because it's like the very thing I thought was going to offer me freedom was a trap. And it kept me in that loop. And so whenever we connected and you was like, hey, let me help you work out. And I started implementing habits I'd never done before. Like I'd always talked to God, but I'd never really thought about calming my mind. The Bible talks about meditating on God's word day and night. And I never took in time to calm my mind, to quiet my mind, to take those restful moments, to spend time alone. And being able to embrace that started to make a lot of sense and clarity for me. And then, of course, my health, my confidence increased. And it was a very much an involvement over a period of time. What about for you?
Well, you talk about meditating, you talk about calming your mind, and it's a very, in this society, I guess in the past 48 months, has been less of a core truth of like, hey, you have to hustle. You have to keep working, screw sleep, right? A lot of the bigger players that have built, and here's the thing I'm realizing is that a lot of those players who own the voice of the media right now, of like social media, have that hustle mentality to build the machine to then put their voice out there. So then that becomes the voice that most entrepreneurs hear.
For sure.
And I think a beautiful thing is that now a lot more creators are talking about alignment and talking about just calming your mind before you go into work, before you create, so that you can create from a foundation of God, from a foundation of your purpose. And a lot of people who follow this hustle culture and follow this mentality of always grinding find out in 3 years that they've led themselves 3 years into a path that they don't want to be in.
Yeah.
But you do learn a lot. So I will say that.
For sure.
But I just imagine if in the beginning of those 3 years, they just would have hustled in alignment, how much further they would be.
Now, I think that's the key. What you just said there, hustle and alignment. Because my reason for hustling like I didn't want to be one of those lazy people who didn't do a darn thing.
Right.
Now, they repulsed me. Lazy people who would sit around and complain was repulsive to me. So I'm like, I want to be the person who gets crap done. So I'm going to do whatever I can. But then by not allowing myself time to plan, because I seen people planning and never doing, They would plan for 3 years and never make the first video, never make the first sales call, never do the first thing. So I was like, well, I don't want to be like that. So I'm just going to go full action mode.
Right.
And I think when you can know the alignment and know the vision because you've taken that time, even if it's just 15 minutes with you and God in a morning, because you've taken that 15 minutes, now the same amount of work is actually getting you to your goal rather than into a trap.
100%. So let's go to number 2, which is this truth that playing small protects you, but it also shrinks you. My belief on this topic, this idea, is that when you play small, you are doing a massive disservice to other people.
Yeah.
But you're also doubting God.
Yeah.
And you're doubting yourself tremendously. And it's this idea of the two, right? You play small and you impact 100 people, but at least you get to be quote unquote comfortable for that time. Versus option 2 is if you really lead your potential, go as hard as you can with boundary, and you impact 100,000 people.
Yeah.
And maybe you lose a little bit of peace in the beginning stages, but then it comes back. But you have to get out of your comfort zone.
Yes.
And I think if you look at it in that angle, you can identify with, hey, I like that one better, because on my deathbed, I'm going to look back and say, wow, I impacted 100,000 people versus 100 people.
I agree. I think that's powerful because it's so easy to run from the things that scare us. You know, we've been hypnotized our entire life, or programmed our entire life. Like even by people who love us, you know, oh, be careful. Don't get into debt. Don't borrow money. Be careful. Don't do that if you can't afford. All of these be careful moments that is meant to protect us out of people who loved us, but in reality was keeping us smaller than we should have been. Because yes, we should look both ways before we cross the street, but that don't mean we should never cross the street.
Yeah.
Yes, we should not go borrow a bunch of high interest consumer debt to buy stupid stuff. But what if I use a credit card to buy a house that makes me $50,000?
Right. So this leads us to number 3, which is you don't need more information. You need aligned action. Type in the chat, aligned action.
That's good.
So this right here is information.
Yeah.
But of course, with us, we make sure that there is action behind it, and you get that feeling with this information. And I wanna really look at this idea where people scroll through social media for creativity, for inspiration, but we end up going through and consuming. And personal development business content has grown so much where everywhere you look, if you spend 15 minutes on social media, you have 19 new business models, 8 new ways to market, and 15 new competitors that you never even knew about before. And I love this idea of being able to, let's just say social media is required for your business, post consistently, and then go build the thing that you really want to build.
How do you manage that though? Because like you have a following online and you post, like because for me, if I post something and like, I don't know what it's like to get billions of views. I know what it's like to get hundreds of views. And if my thing that I posted is blowing up, like I have this subconscious thing that every 7 minutes I need to check the notifications.
Yeah, so if something blows up today, I'm going to check it like 20 times. And I'm being completely honest where let's just say right now, I'll check my social media maybe 5 times, and I'll tell myself, hey, we're balancing metrics.
Yeah.
Right. We're so it's like I'm definitely not a perfect person when it comes to social media use. However, the overall foundation of the mindset is we are creators and we're creating versus consuming. And I will still consume, but it's always a balance. I know if I tell myself 15 minutes, I'll give myself 15 minutes so I don't get down that loop.
But you say you're not a perfect user of social media, but what constitutes perfect user? You're using it to grow the business. And, you know, unless you're doom scrolling for 7 hours a day, then that becomes a challenge, right? But if you're allowing yourself 3 15-minute segments to continue to boost the algorithms, very different thing. And I think that's a perfect thought process for your business, because what is your business? You know, for somebody who's helping social media people, for somebody who is building a real estate empire, for somebody who's building a lending company, like all very different aspects.
Mm-hmm.
And so understanding what is it, what puts fuel on the fire, and what is the needle moving action in your business.
So then this idea of aligned action is every single, I don't want to say every single morning, right? Because there's some mornings that we miss. But as much as possible, asking yourself questions. What is the needle mover?
Yeah.
What, if there's one thing that I could be proud of today, if I only got that one thing done, what would it be? And you start asking yourself those questions, and let's just say that was the only one. You just ask yourself that question. I, the other day, had a really rough day where I felt like I just couldn't get anything done. And it's because I was trying to do every project in completion at once. And it completely overwhelmed me. And then I honestly went to ChatGPT as my therapy. And I was like, hey, this is all the things that's going on. Here's all the projects I have to do. And it brought me back to the thing that we do, which is, Leo, calm down. What is the one thing that when you go to bed tonight and your head hits the pillow that you could be proud of? And I did that one thing and I felt great. But after doing that one thing, I did another one, then another one, then another one. And the rest of the day ended up being so productive just because I switched the mentality of just doing one thing.
Well, and we often hear the domino effect in a negative way, the domino effect of things falling. But it also happens in a good way. Because if you have a long to-do list and your brain is swirling with all this crap you got to get done, many times out of 96 to-do items that are swirling in our brains, if we done 3 or 4, half the list disappears. Right? Because of the domino effect, because of the needle moving action. And I think it's such a gift that we can give to ourselves to say, what is that thing that I can do that really does move the needle? You know, I remember living in that loop back years ago when I was broke of trying to get a deal, but then trying to figure out how to get leads, but then trying to figure out how to close clients, and living in that loop of figuring out the revenue model. And once you can, in that case, figure out how to go get a big check every month and take care of all today's needs, a lot of the other things go away and you can stop working in the business, hustling nonstop, and start working on the business, making it an actual tool that supports you in your lifestyle.
Something I want to do real quick is something that helps me tremendously, and this is a little bit off topic, but it's on my mind. But if this is typically what we do on paper, but you can do it on a document, and you simply put down everything that you possibly have going on right now. And I'll use me as an example at the moment, where I have, Monday Night Tribe calls. I have Truco OS workbook. There is the Truco RE event happening. There is the daily live show and improving it. What are some other projects that we have going on?
REOS.
Content series, REOS, Freedom Live. Okay, so what I do first to get to aligned action is I write down all the big projects that I have going on. And then I'll do it in so many different ways, but I want to give you guys a framework. So bear with me as I kind of take my mind and make it into a framework. But if we have all these things, for me, I like to separate by companies. Like, for example, Truco RE and then Truco brand, right? So then I know that Freedom Life falls under Truco RE. REOS falls under Truco RE. Content series falls out under Truco brand. Daily live show falls under Truco brand. So then I could just segment and categorize things where things aren't so stressful at the moment. Then I can say, okay, I'm going to work on this. I'm going to work on Truco RE today. I know I'm saying a lot of words, guys, but bear with me here. I'm going to work on Truco RE today. And focusing here, it just takes all those other tasks off your mind for a minute. Now, you don't have, if you're not running multiple companies, you can segment it based on marketing, sales, branding. You can high income skill, community, etc. And you can segment your to-do list. You can segment your projects based on this. And if I'm assuming a lot of people here are solopreneurs or just getting started, so they're a one person, when you can start to segment all the projects that you have, all the ideas that you have into this, then you can start to hire a team to put in the right places.
Well, and when you lay it out like that, something I often do in the 3 companies that we run is I will segment it out. Like this morning for 3 hours, I got to do X. Then this afternoon for 3 hours, I got to do X. And I will segment it into hours of blocks, because now it gives you the ability. And then inside those blocks is for example, marketing, sales, branding, high income. What is the thing I need to most do? If you are struggling on revenue right now, the biggest thing you need to do is go get some freaking sales. So what needs to happen to get sales? Well, what has happened in the past to get you sales? Posting. Okay, so then I need to post. Maybe the revenue's good and you're going, gosh, I just need to serve my customers better and improve my retention rates. Okay, cool. Then what's the item you can do that your customers most request that would be most exciting to them? And so you start to now go down a rabbit hole of, oh, this is my action. It just simplifies the great big mess in our brain that needs to be done to saying, okay, my next step is blank. And I always go through this, in a real estate example. I ask people consistently, I come back to saying, hey, if there's a challenge anywhere in the business, are you getting enough leads? And many times the answer is no. Okay, leads solves all. No matter what business you're in, you have to get leads. Leads solves all. So in order to get more leads, what's the action I can take right now?
So what Andrew's saying is you ask a question and you answer it. And then from that answer, you ask another question and then you answer it. And then until you get to a point where it's the solid thing to do, this is the item to take care of. Okay, like we did it before. Hey, I'm overwhelmed. What is the needle mover? I'm just going to write it again. Okay. Sales solves all. So I need sales. Okay. How do I get more sales? What has worked in the past? Right. The more you watch this show, I'm going to be completely blunt. The more you watch this show, the more you'll be able to have these tools to ask yourself these questions. And that's going to make you so strong over the next couple of years. This is why we do this show, is not because one show is going to change your life, but because every show, it's just going to train you every single day to start thinking like an entrepreneur. So how do I get more sales? Okay, what has worked in the past? Content that leads to a DM that leads to a sale, or a paid ad that leads to a webinar, that leads to a booked call, that leads to a sale. So then when you're here, is there any more questions that I can ask? Andrew, what are some questions based on this that you can think of that we can ask? Is that has worked in the past? What's the next question that you would ask?
Then what do I need to do to get content out?
Okay.
If it starts at content and that's how you're getting leads, then it's going to come down to what? Make a video? Make a post? Like what's that thing that I need to do? Because often the hang up, maybe we even know we need to do content. We know we need to post. We know we need to make a video. But the hang up is, crap, I know I need to make a video, but what do I say? Okay, so the scripting is a challenge. So either you or somebody else has to write out what the heck am I going to say on this video. Or you're going, I just don't feel creative right now. I need to make this post. Okay, how do you get creative? Well, I go to a coffee shop. Okay, your next step is drive to a coffee shop and write a post.
Boom. Okay, so this is good. So what do I say? What do I create? Eventually, you find out the answer. I want to create content about communication because your product. And I know we're going so deep, guys, but I'm just going to keep going because why not? Your product is a communication course, and you want to start selling that. Okay, so then your question, because for some of us, okay, what is the needle mover? Sales, but what are you selling? Question mark. And you're selling a communication course that you already created. Okay, perfect. Then you go back to what do I need to get content out? I need to make content about communication. And then keep going until you have no problems. Because your problem, your holdup is, I don't have a space. Okay? So then A, it is get a new space, or B, find a space, or C, create a space. Okay? Let's just say, okay, crap. This, get a new space, leads me back to my problem of sales. Awesome. So get rid of A, because right now there's no money. B, I need to find a space. Okay, perfect. Can I this can go on for a whole, I'm going to stop now, but this can go on for a whole 30 minutes. And the point that I'm trying to make is you need to do that every single day. You need to map out where your mind is. Otherwise, you get overwhelmed
Let's cut through the crap in your mind, because otherwise we self-sabotage.
every single time.
And it's easy to sit in a loop and to find excuses for, well, when I get the new house, I'll do that. When I get if I just had more people to show up at my event, I would go ahead and host it. Like we excuse ourselves, and I speak for myself. I've done this for years. Well, if I just had more money to market for more deals, I could get the whole loop. And it's just bullcrap excuses in our mind that we tell ourselves to live in this stupid loop. Until one day I said, you know what? I need to get some freaking money. Who can I call? Everybody says these leads suck. Let me call and close some deals from the leads that suck. At least I'll get good at it. So how can we move that needle?
Well, you've seen me stuck in that for so long, right? Of going through excuses, and I still go through excuses. And sometimes I'm like, Andrew, I don't want to hear it. I know I got to just get back to the drawing board. Don't say anything. Let me just.
And I'll say, what do you want me to not say?
I say everything. And guys, like if you could just take this away and start doing that,
Yeah.
it's going to change so many. I wish we would have showed that sooner, but sometimes it's God's timing. All right, number 4. Stop
Yeah.
waiting for, yeah. Number 4 is stop waiting to feel ready. Power shows up when you move. Okay. Very similar, but it's another mentality where I was stuck this morning.
Yep.
I was very overwhelmed, and because I have the same thing, so many projects. So I went outside and I started playing with ants. I don't know why. I've done it ever since I was a kid. I saw these little ants. I'm probably going to go off topic, but I don't care. I saw these little ants, and they would pick up a dead ant.
Yeah.
And when an ant dies, they release a chemical that says it's dead.
Yeah.
And they pick up the ant and they move the ant to a whole nother colony, or to a whole nother space, so it doesn't cause any diseases to the colony. Total side note.
Crazy.
That has nothing to do with this. But I'll look at ants and I'll start playing with them, moving them around with leaves and stuff. And it just resets my mind off of everything.
Yeah.
So in other words, play with ants. But after that, I will move on something. I'll do this, and I'll choose one thing to do, and I'll keep it so small where it's like, I'm just going to get that one thing done. And then after I get that thing done, I feel so confident to do the next thing. And this is repeating myself, but I really need people to get this, where you just have to move. But it's either you stay still
Yeah.
and talk to God or meditate or breathe, or you move and you do something. But if you dwell in your own overwhelm, you're cooked.
Yeah.
You're done.
Something I thought of as you said that, when power shows up when you move, I was thinking of a few years ago, your car, Leo's Hemi Dodge Charger has a 5.7 Hemi with the road and track pack. And I remember driving it on the Indiana Speedway years ago. And it has all the power in the big, beautiful Hemi engine. But it sits there just rumbling a little bit. You push the road and track pack button. It says it's ready for launch. That's what the screen says, ready for launch. But it sits there ready for launch, waiting for you to hit the gas pedal. And the moment you hit the gas pedal, it is 0 to 60 in a few very short seconds, because all the power is then showing up. I think this is such a powerful thing for each of you, because you realize God put in you something so much bigger and better than a 5.7 Hemi. But you literally are sitting there on so much gifting and power and blessing and anointing, except it's sitting there bottled up. And the gas pedal's just sitting there waiting to be pushed, but we're sitting there going, crap, what if I pushed the wrong thing? What if I'm not pointing in the right direction? What if I don't have clarity? What do I need to do? All of these what ifs. As long as we can live in that loop-de, all the power just sits there. But the moment we can step on the gas pedal of faith, of belief, and of action, we then begin to change the world because the power now goes from being bottled up in us to surrounding what's around us. It moves us in a way that we were meant to be moved.
I like that. I want to dig a little bit deeper on that because, if this was years ago and I heard that, I would say like, sounds great when you say it, but how do we actually, move? How do we know what to move on? And I think it begins with massive amounts of clarity on what it is that you want. Well, because I'm not gonna toss on that gas pedal if I don't have a clear path ahead of me.
Well, put in the wrong direction, it could kill you.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a perfect example, and that's where the fear comes in, right?
Right.
It's going, all right, but something you often say, I know who I am and whose I am. And so if I'm in alignment, but coming back to clarity, how do we get clarity of alignment?
Ask yourself these questions right now of what do I truly want? And then your brain's going to go in a bit of a fog. I want this, I want this, I want this. Every one of your goals, for a second, let's just do this mirror test. When I was in a very lost place, you've seen it, and I was wanting all these different things, I had to do some soul searching, which led us to Truka. Okay. And what I did, and I never fully explained the process because it was like a 9-month process. But what I've done with my reflection since then.
9 months in, baby Truka was born.
Exactly. What I've come to understand is that there's a filter that you can ask yourself. If nobody saw the car, if nobody liked the post, if nobody applauded your win, would you still want it? And when you ask these questions, you can start to kind of break through 3 months of soul searching, I hope.
Yeah.
I recommend doing as much soul searching as you can, but there's an extent of when you have to get things done. You can't go broke in soul search. You can. It's not fun. But when you ask those questions, and there's like 50 more, if you type that into ChatGPT and ask me more questions, you'll start to realize how many things are for other people, for approval, for validation, for that one ex, for your parents, for your father, for this person that hurt you. A lot of things are for other people. But when you truly have the goals in alignment with you and God and your purpose, then it always makes sense. Then you can always keep going. And then you can look 10 miles, 20 miles, 30 miles ahead and say, this is the right path for me, so I'm going to push on the gas. And that changed my life forever because majority of what I wanted to do was for other people.
Yeah.
Truka is for us, is for God, is for helping others, and genuinely is that. And that's why we push so hard every single day because of that fact.
And that's powerful because otherwise it is empty. I think that's a gift that when you can step into that alignment and be honest with yourself, that gateway opens. Ready for number 5?
Number 5, you were not meant to fit in. You were born to stand out. We dim our lights too much because other people are insecure, because they didn't realize that they weren't born insecure. Other insecure people created insecurity within them. It is an absolute disease of this world, is insecurity.
It needs to settle in for a minute. That's powerful.
How long? 5 seconds?
Yeah. Insecure people created that insecurity in you.
Yes, because a person who has truly weeded out most of their insecurity will simply lift other people up. The last thing they do is say things that create more insecurity because they know how much it affects them.
That's powerful because I think the reason I wanted that powerful pause there was because of how deeply that resonated with me, was to realize that insecurity is not born. It's not given of God. It only comes from the enemy or from other insecuritans. And what a powerful thing. And when you realize that it is your greatest gift, the very thing that other people will shame you for or attempt to get you to hide your light for is the very thing that God gave you to stand out in the world. That's why the enemy, through other people or whatever reason, has tried to dim that light and that gift, is because that is your greatest gift that is going to change the world when you stand out. But when you stand out in that gift, that scares the enemy, and that scares other people who don't have your best interest in mind.
And it's because people are mirrors.
Yes.
Let's just say I wasn't secure and you're crushing it across all angles. You're simply a mirror. When I see you, yes, I see you winning. I see you doing all these things. But as human nature, I'm going to say, how am I not doing those things? Why am I not there yet? And if I don't feel secure in my abilities, secure in my faith, secure in my resources, then I'm going to try to tear you down because it's going to make me feel better.
That's powerful.
Whereas someone who is secure in your abilities, I see you succeeding. I say, let me find out what he's doing.
Yeah.
And let me add that to what I'm doing because I want to run with you, but that's not going to tear you down.
Yeah.
Right? Is there a way that we can grow together? Okay, perfect. Let me study how he's doing. Maybe I don't even have to talk to you. Let me study the way he's doing his posts. Okay, I like that. I like that too. And I can only say I like that because it's a mirror and I'm confident in my abilities, where if I just did that, I'm going to get there too.
Yeah.
Insecurity is saying, I can never get there. He's cheating. He's doing something wrong, right? He did something to get there.
But it's easier to say that someone's cheating or they're doing it wrong. It's easier to validate why they're wrong than it is to change and admit that the last year, 5 years, 10 years, I've been doing it in a way that could have been done better.
Yep.
Because that's tough to accept. When you've been doing something for 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years and you see somebody blowing past you, to look at them and say, oh, crap, I need to change, is to say, in a way, I could have done it better sooner.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't learn that sooner. So rather than adapting when we realize it, it's easier to say, nope, they're doing something wrong, so we can continue to live in our same stagnant space. And I think that's a gift when you can be okay knowing, like, I don't care if they're younger than me, older than me, somewhere in between. If it's somebody who I can learn from, I'm in. And I think that's a special thing, of course, about what we do is we constantly push each other to new levels.
Yeah. Your ego is the one that says all these things of protecting yourself and, oh, they're cheating, they're all these things. And I think a great book is Ego is the Enemy. And it took me a long time to read it because my ego told me not to read it. But then I finally sat down with myself, and it actually was the book that helped me overcome my ego. And it actually led me more to read the Bible. I don't know if Ryan Holiday is a Christian or, what I know he believes in a lot of things, but his book Ego is the Enemy is the one that got me to understand it, read the Bible, get closer to God. So shout out to Ryan. Next one is you're protecting people who wouldn't protect your purpose. You're protecting people who wouldn't protect your purpose. Now, my thought of this is that you are defending people in your mind and you're keeping people close who would drop if they had the choice of like keep them small and kill their purpose or let them rise above. I might lose them, but let them rise, but let them live their purpose out. Most people would keep you small.
Yeah.
Because if you start rising, their insecurity flares up. It's like inflammation, right? It's like it flares up when people win. And I feel like we could talk about this for hours because it really is a mission of ours to kill insecurity and to remove it from as many people as possible and build as many leaders up who can remove it from other people. Because if I remove insecurity from somebody, all that's left is greatness, is growth, and they're going to lift other people up. But anyways, what, Andrew, is your opinion on why people protect people who wouldn't protect their purpose?
Well, I think there's human connection is a real thing, and there's somebody, I was just talking to a friend this morning about the fact that if you are mismatched in your loyalty or your friendship or your love and care for someone, then it becomes a dangerous place. And when you are linked up with someone, whether it be in friendship and family and spouse and other ways, with someone who you love and care about deeply, yet their goal is not to see you be your best, probably usually as a reflection of their insecurity, then you're in a very, very tough spot. And I was in that spot for years because I constantly lived around and surrounded myself around people who would consistently pull me down on purpose or by accident. I'm convinced 80 to 90% of it was subconscious. I don't think they hated. I don't think they wanted to see me fail. They just couldn't bear the fact that it was growing. It somehow something didn't add up for them in their minds. And I think that we have a love and a care, yet when we're growing, when we're getting closer to God and closer to our purpose, and the money gets better and the impact gets higher and the confidence goes higher, many people were not able to fly with you on that level. And I think that being able to detach from the seasonal friends and know the difference between soulmates that were meant to be a lifetime versus a seasonal friend who were meant to lift each other up for a season and God bless and move on, then till we understand that, we're going to be constant turmoil trying to protect those who don't protect our purpose.
Yeah, find the people who genuinely want you to win.
Yeah.
And I look at us now and it's like we protect our people so much where our inner circle, all of them want us to win.
Absolutely.
And it's a very good feeling. And if you don't currently have that, I would definitely just start thinking about who that person would look like. It doesn't have to be like aesthetically what they look like, but you know, what does their energy feel like? How do they communicate? Because the more filters you can create and the more out there you can be, the better people that are going to appear in your life.
Absolutely.
I think it's like a math equation for life where you can kind of attract the people that you want, not through manifestation, but through a filter.
Yeah.
And then praying for the right people and praying that you can discern, is this person for me? Is this person not for me?
Absolutely.
Yeah. My brain's just working
That's
at the
good.
moment. Last two. If God gave you the vision, you don't need permission.
That's a good one.
That's something I'm learning every single day, but I thought I'd add it in here because God gives you a vision for a reason.
Yeah.
He gives you a story for a reason of hurt, of growth, of lessons, and a set of superpowers and skill sets for a reason. And with those, it creates probably a vision that you've had before of creating this amazing space or building this one business that would help so many people.
Yeah.
You have that vision in your mind for a reason. And God is giving you the full reign to be able to do that. And every time that I doubt myself, I remind myself, Leo, you're doubting God's vision for you. So you're doubting God.
That's powerful.
And if you take a step back, you realize, like, how could I do that? You gave me something so big and beautiful to create. Let me do everything I can to build it out.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I think it's a powerful thing when you can truly like embody the purpose, embody the vision that you've been given, because our challenges, something I used to do when I would go on stage would be I would be super nervous. And then I realized the same ego that led some people to be super cocky when they spoke, which was, look at me, was the same insecurity that caused me to be insecure when I spoke. What do I look like? What if this? What if they think that? What if it was still on me? So in order to lose my nervousness, I started focusing on the people I was speaking to. And so once the focus comes off of me, mine, and I to mission, purpose, vision, and God and others, then the permission goes away. We're not looking for approval. We're not going, what are they going to think? What if? We're just saying, I am called for a purpose. I have this vision, and I would be doing a great disservice to God and the people around me if I didn't live it fully. So all the drama, all the riffraff, all the negative comments, all of the downward people who say harsh or mean things, it's as if they're not even existing, because you're so set on the vision. And if someone doesn't get it, it doesn't bother you. You don't take it personal no more. I think that's a powerful shift that we can make in our mind.
Thank you for saying that. And there's so much wisdom that you have, Andrew. And I hope people like fully take it in and utilize it, because that's what helped me so much is the wisdom that you had.
Thank you, brother.
I wanted to say a quote that is from my favorite movie. Many of you probably have seen it. It is Coach Carter. Here, let me make sure this can be seen. You know what? It's fine. It says, "Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. You playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. It's not just in some of us, it is in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others."
That's powerful.
Now I get chills when I read that, and when I first heard it. I read this every single day in 2022. Every single day. It was when I was learning affirmations. I every single day I read this out. I had a notes app, and I would go in there and I would read it. And it has built my character in the way that I am.
Yeah.
And people see me now and they say, I bring out good in people, but it's because I started to realize that I was playing small and it does not serve the world. Okay. And it says we are all meant to shine as children do. And it's such a beautiful thing, because every kid that you meet, initially, they're so excited. They're so full of the world, and they have dreams. We learn in school to create dreams.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you get told no. Your parents say no. Your teachers say no. Things happen to you. And eventually what happens to the person? They create all these fears. Mm-hmm. They create all these systematized ideas that they aren't enough. And they start to dim their light when someone starts to find their gold in them, yeah, and they start shining. All the other insecure friends around them start to shiver, yeah, and they start to hate on them because they're starting to shine, and they all feel not enough because they're systematically insecure because of the school system, because of the society, because of social media. Yeah. And now when that kid starts to shine a little bit, they get shunned for it, so they stay low. And I wanted to say this quote here for you guys so you can realize that you're playing small, again, does not serve the world. And other people are insecure. And anybody who hates on you, anybody who even gives you a backhanded compliment, anybody who doesn't believe in your vision, anybody who is even just trying to make you play it safe is insecure because they don't think they could do it themselves. But the moment that you look within yourself and say, wow, I have a vision and God gave me this vision and I have the choice to be able to grow and build something great, as all people do, as all children do, now I'm able to create something. Now I'm able to move. Now I'm able to shine my light so incredibly bright that it unconsciously gives other people permission to do the same. This is what me and Andrew do every single day now, because it's only changed our life so much. Thank you, Andrew, for charging it.
Are we ready for number 8?
I am ready for number 8. I kind of wanted to finish on that one.
Oh, perfect.
Because eight is the same as 2. But playing small doesn't match who you're becoming. You are becoming someone so extraordinary. You are becoming someone who doesn't give up. You are becoming someone who will lead, whether it's your family, whether it's your team, or whether it's an entire generation. You are becoming that leader. And playing small is cutting off the access to that person that you're becoming.
I think it's a powerful example, and what the quote you was giving and the examples you were sharing was speaking to me, because I remember my younger self countless times getting pushed down by insecure people, but believing it was me. And I'd say many of you have experienced that, where you believe it's you because somebody said something mean. Somebody said something harsh. Somebody said you looked a certain way, or you were a certain way, or you were X. They labeled you things, and because they labeled that to you, you accepted it and believed that's who you should become. And oh my goodness, I've even heard people say it, and it hurts my heart. But I would hear people say insecure statements. They will name something and then they'll invalidate themselves. Well, that's stupid. I shouldn't have said that. Well, that's dumb. I usually say dumb things. All of these downward talks they start saying to themselves because somebody else put it on them and they accepted that kind of language patterns. And so for 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, they live under that curse. And the power of life and the power of death is in the tongue, the Bible says.
100%.
And it's the ability to speak life. It's the ability to say, no, I'm a king's kid, and I am blessed and grateful every day.
If there's a single person in your life that is insecure, that is keeping you small, I want you to play so big and just watch it like a comedy show. Every time you make a move that is big, watch them shrink and they turn red. They turn red, but it's not towards you. It is always towards their hate for themselves.
Yeah.
And I'm careful with this because you know my passion towards insecurity because of how many insecure people there were around me when I was younger. It was like a war every single day. And it's something that, luckily my mom taught me as well. It's like, hey, there's so many insecure people out there that will always be insecure when you play big. So I want you to play so big so you piss them off. That was her mentality. And I honestly kept that mentality for so long. And I'm not saying it's the right mentality, but I feel called to say this right now, that I want you to play so big that it pisses your haters off, that it pisses the people off that could even say anything about you, and keep going and keep going and keep going. And just have a great conversation with them one day and show them the actual heart that you have. Because I'm sure everyone, Andrew, that has ever hated on you, ever tried to do anything wrong, if they were sitting right here, they would be so mad right now. But if they're right here in front of us and, both of us are together chatting with them, they're going to have a full mirror of how small that they really are.
Yeah.
And that doesn't feel good. But if in that moment we can give them love and give them grace, then they too, and it's hard to think about, but they too can also start to realize, hey, if I just stop hating on everyone else for a second, if I just stop blaming everyone else, maybe I can do something with my life.
Yeah.
And
it's the yin and the yang. You're there to give them grace. I'm there to give them a dose of reality from our in-house counsel.
Exactly.
I think it's a powerful thing. I say that jokingly. I think it's a powerful thing when you really can genuinely share that goodness with the people who have been on the other side of that fence. And that's a powerful.
So, what day is it today? Wednesday? We will be back tomorrow, same time, same place. And this is definitely one to watch back to. This is definitely one to study more. We went over a lot of different mentalities here, but we're here to give you guys the mentality that will help you win and continue that mission of helping people become the best version of themselves.
So we'll see you tomorrow. Same place, same time.
Peace out.
Bye for now, guys.